Alright, in this video we are going to discuss how to use Land School in your classroom. We're going to go over some of the basics, and then in a few more videos we'll get a little bit more in depth. First off, where do you go to find the program? It may be down on the right hand corner over here. It's this little circle icon. If you don't see it, you may have to click your little tray here for any other hidden programs, and you may see that same icon in here to get it open. Now, if you don't see it here, another spot you could go to is a start menu, and you'll see Land School, and if it's not there, you can also just search it and type in Land School there. So a few different options to get to it. Once you click on it, you should see a screen that looks something like this, and yours may look like this. So right now I'm seeing a list of students logged in my classroom. If you drop down the view menu here, you can switch straight to best fit. That's the one that I like to use, and it gives you a best fit for all the monitors in the room. But if you're not seeing a classroom, let's talk about how to open up just your students in that period. If you go to Administer and go to the one-to-one, you'll see the Load Class List button. And in there, what you're going to do is go to your H drive and go into the Land School folder that has already been added in there for you. You'll see Land School Files. And when you open that, you'll see Marking Period 2 or Marking Period 4, depending on where you're at in the school year. I'm going to go to Marking Period 4. And right now I'm in period 7, my advisory, so I'm going to go ahead and open my students in period 7. It may take a little bit to load. It'll show you who's in the room, what they're doing, and what they're looking at. It gives you a live feed, as well as you'll notice each monitor is tagged with the student's name, so you know whose is who. So I could see that Miss Hernandez here is on Twitter, someone else is on Pandora, YouTube, so you can get a live stream of what each student is doing in the classroom. And you'll also notice mine may look a little different because my classroom has dual monitors, so I can see both monitors in the room. So that's how you can load your class. Now let's say I'm switching classes and I'm going to period 8. All I would have to do is go to Administer, one-to-one, and I could dismiss this current class, and then I could go back in and load period 8. And then once you start doing this on a daily basis, instead of having to do that every single time, you can just go over here and go to my little arrows there and then go to class list, and then here it recalls the periods that you've been opening. So you'll see I got period 4, period 2. So this is just a little bit quick tip on how to get to that more efficiently and quicker. So that's finding your classes and loading your different periods. Only have your students that are in that period. The next thing I'm going to talk about is some of the tools that you have up here. The first one, which is very important, is Show. This allows me to give a live stream of my monitor to the students right there in front of them at their computer screen. So sometimes, you're trying to give a demonstration, and the projector screen is hard for some of the students to see in the back of the room. So I can give a live stream of my screen right there on their computer. Now when I do this, I can drop down this menu, and there's some different options. I can do a full screen, meaning it captures my whole screen and it locks their keyboard and their mouse so they cannot do anything else, and they can only watch my screen and what I'm doing. Or I can do a windowed version where it windows my screen, but they can still work. So the full screen forces them to watch and limits their mouse and keyboard capabilities. The windowed still shows them my screen but allows them to work. I use that a lot with my dual monitors. My kids will put my screen on one monitor and put and work on the other screen on a project. So that's kind of how the Show version works. It's really nice for demonstrations and when you're trying to make sure the kids are paying attention. The other option is if you click on a student, you can do a show student. So let's say that Miss Velasquez here is doing a really nice job on the project. I can then go ahead and show the student, and it'll project her screen on all of the other students' screens, which is really nice for showcasing a student's work and giving them credit for what they're doing. The next button that you'll see up here is Vote. This Vote button is really good for quick bell ringers or quick ticket out the doors activities to see if your students understood the material. When I click on it, you can create a question, true or false or multiple choice, and then you can send it to the students, and then it gives you direct feedback on who answered what and how they answered it to give you, an idea of if they understood the material or not. Really simple. You can save the question if you want to use it for another period right into your H drive. I would recommend saving it into, maybe that land school folder, but you can go wherever you want. That's your preference. So a really cool feature for voting. Like I said, it's only one question, just a quick ticket out the door maybe, or a bell ringer. Next is testing. I'm going to make a separate video just on testing because I use this for assessments, which you will find very helpful. I'm going to probably do that in the next video. The next tool, the Run program, or Run tool. You can go ahead and type in a web address for the students to pull up. It's really nice. Instead of putting a big long web address for the students up on the front board to go to, you just go to your internet, copy and paste the address, and then hit OK, and it'll push this web address to all the students, and then they can go ahead and open up the web address that you're trying to get them to. And I've already talked about the view, but if you click this drop down arrow, again, you can go to details. You can get a list of the students along with the current application that they're running. So if you like that feature, I normally like just to stick with best fit, and that's normally where I go. That's just my preference. If I wanted to take a snapshot of a screen, so I've used this scenario where I had a student who constantly wasn't doing what they were supposed to. So I can take a screenshot of their screen, and I can send that right along with a referral after, a step 5 or something like that. Or if they're looking at something inappropriate, quick snapshot of their screen, and you have documentation of exactly what they were doing on the computer with the time, everything. So that's how you can use the snapshot. Messaging is really nice. This is helpful when I get a student who, for example, is on Facebook or another website that they're not supposed to be on, and I don't want to call that student out in front of the entire classroom, and I just want to, discreetly say, hey, you need to get back to work. I can use this message button, and when you go message, you can type in, your message. And I always check for students to read it, because otherwise it doesn't pop up in the middle of their screen. It pops up on the lower right hand corner over here. So I always do for students, and I don't want to send it anonymously because I want them to know it's me. And then I can go ahead and send it, and it'll pop up on the middle of their screen there, and they get the message, and then they could just click OK to get back to work, and that tells them, hey, instead of calling them out in front of the whole class. So that's one of the ways that I use the message feature. The next tool is the blank screen. The blank screen is pretty much what it says. You can, let's say you don't want anybody on the computers, you want their eyes up front, paying attention to you with your demonstration. You can blank only one person's screen, just like that, or you can do the entire class just by clicking that. And just to turn it off, you just click it again and it gets rid of the blank screen. Now you can also configure this blank screen to give a message. So right now the default, so you can enter a message that you would like. It says eyes to the front of the classroom, please. You can change that if you would like and set that up. So that's the blank screen feature. Limiting web, this is very helpful when you only want, let's say, the students working in Photoshop or AutoCAD or Microsoft Word. You can totally limit the entire web based on some settings that you have, or you can only allow certain websites, or you can block certain websites. So to configure this, you click the drop-down menu and you go to Configure Web Limiting. And in here you get some different options. So right now I have mine set up to block the entire web, so they cannot access the internet when I turn on Limit Web. Or I can do allow certain websites. So for example, I may want the students only on career cruising. So the only website that they can go on to on the internet is career cruising. Or let's say I have a bunch of students who just keep going to certain websites that I don't want, so I want to block a certain list of websites. I can enter those here. The other important thing to do is to make sure you check Restrict IP Address in Internet Explorer in private browsing. Previous versions of Land School allowed students to use in private browsing to get around this limit web feature, but now Land School is going ahead and fix that, so just make sure that that is checked. So that's how you can limit web, allow certain websites or block certain websites. Really nice feature. Same thing with apps. So let's say you want to only allow the students to use Word. If you do an ad, it's only going to bring up the applications that you have up and running. So if you look, I got Word, Land School, Outlook, and some other ones which you'll see open down here. So if you want to only allow a certain app, you need to make sure it's open on your computer, and then you can go ahead and click that, let's just say Outlook, and it'll add that application to the allow list. And it's the same thing with the block applications. You can switch just by clicking that button, and you can block certain applications. You can limit printing. So I know sometimes paper is scarce, so I can limit the students from printing anything, or it is what it says it is. You can limit the printing. You can limit certain drives if you want to. I normally don't use that. You can mute the students' speakers, so they're listening to music or not paying attention. You can mute their computers. Clear desktop pretty much stops any application or anything they're doing on the screen. Be careful with that one. I don't normally use it, but it's a feature that's there. So if you want to use it, it gets rid of anything from a Word document to Internet Explorer. Anything they're doing, it clears out the entire desktop. You can also show a video. So if you've downloaded a YouTube video to your hard drive, I can load this video straight onto the Land School and force play it to their screens. Again, very helpful for students in the back of the room, and then I just play it through the speakers in the ceiling. So I think that's pretty much it on the basic layout of Land School. In the next video I am going to cover giving tests or assessments through Land School. Really cool tool to use. So that'll be the next video.